Hey guys, it's Jason. Did you know that recently a federal judge blocked the national moratorium on evictions? Can you now be evicted, and what does this mean for you? So basically what's going on is there was a moratorium on evictions and the CDC enacted this. The reason that they pushed this was because they didn't want people to be evicted due to hardships from the pandemic. And one of the major reasons was to not see an economic downfall, mass evictions, and economic problems that come with that. Reason number two, and the most prevalent reason that they mentioned this, was they said that when people get evicted, you're going to see homelessness and shared housing. And when you see a lot of people sharing a tight space, based on the way that the disease travels, you're going to see a rise in the disease. So the main reason was to say that they enacted this was to say to prevent the spread of the disease. So basically what they did was that nationally they made it very difficult to evict somebody. There were some loopholes, there were some ways to evict people, especially if the tenant was violent or violating a major law while staying in your property, then they had a chance of becoming evicted. Most people, as long as they declared that they were having a hardship due to the pandemic and through no fault of their own, it'd be very difficult to evict them. So very recently, federal judge blocked this, and the reason that they blocked it was they said that the country is in a much different position now than we were in at the beginning of the pandemic. So if you guys remember at the beginning of the pandemic, we had a lot of lockdowns. You were limited or at sometimes not even allowed to go outside. We weren't sure how much the disease could spread, and we weren't exactly sure how and how many people would get it. Now we have vaccines and some of the numbers are going down and things are looking positive. We're also seeing positive effects on the economy, a little bit of an economic recovery. So that could be some of the reasons why the judge challenged this. You guys, I hope you keep getting updates like this. Go ahead and like this video real quick so that way more and more people can keep getting this information. It's very useful, especially in a time like now. Go ahead and subscribe. I'd appreciate that very much so you keep getting these weekly updates every Monday. Thank you for that. Okay, so continuing back to what's going on, federal judge blocked this ban because the ban was originally just going to go until the very end of 2020, maybe the beginning of 2021, and it got extended nationally all the way to June and July if you're in California. So the federal judge was saying, hey, it's not serving the original purpose. It had a purpose, but we're recovering and the disease is not as prevalent anymore, so we need to lift that. So you guys, just so you know, if you don't live in California or these other states that have their own individual eviction moratorium rules, just know that if you're facing financial hardship, that you could possibly become evicted, and it could be easier to be evicted now that this is being lifted. However, that judge's block has been appealed, which means that it's basically been challenged. And so the ruling of that is weighing in a court battle that's going back and forth. And at least at the time of this video, May 10th, as that court battle's going on, nothing is changing. Everything is at least staying the same. So that way you guys know, if you're in some sort of a difficult situation, you have a little bit of time to figure things out if things ultimately change and they lift this national eviction moratorium. So you guys, this eviction moratorium, it was definitely, almost 100% of the time a huge benefit for tenants, and that's for sure, especially people going through tough times, supposedly due to the disease, the pandemic that we're seeing. However, it's not all positive. There's another side to the story, and I'm not telling you guys which way to think. I'm just showing you both sides of the coin. That this, the eviction moratorium, it actually causes a hardship for landlords, especially the mom and pop landlords, the smaller landlords that own 1, 2, or maybe 3 or 4 investment properties. These are the ones who are most likely giving the best rental rates out there, the most affordable housing for tenants, and they're getting hit the hardest. There is some economic relief for them, but limited, and so they're getting squeezed financially because if the tenant is not paying rent, and supposedly they're going to pay all of the rent, just eventually they'll make it up, but if the tenant is not paying rent and they cannot be removed or evicted from that property, the landlord still has to pay the mortgage. You guys, and it's a little more complicated than that. It's a little more expensive than just the mortgage. The landlord is also paying the property taxes and the maintenance. So the problem here is that if the landlord is feeling if the landlord is feeling a hard enough financial difficulty due to the fact that they cannot remove a tenant, you might lose the property anyways. So basically what could happen is that the landlord loses enough money that they either get foreclosed on and the home goes back to the bank. That's not good for anybody. Or what also could happen is that the landlord decides that it's not worth it to upkeep the property and they sell it while they could either profit or break even. They're going to sell it to who? An investor with money. And that investor is not going to care about the current tenants. Now, there may be some laws, depending on what state you're in, protecting those tenants, but the investor most likely doesn't care about the tenants the same way a mom and pop landlord typically would. And also, most likely, the investor with money is going to fix it up and make it look nicer, but also charge what? A higher, not a lower price. So there you go, guys. That's every side to this story. I'm just bringing you all the information so you could see what's going on, make your decision accordingly, and also you could develop your own opinion based on the information I'm giving you. Once again, you guys, thank you for being here. Don't forget to like this video so it projects this video out to more people who need it, especially in a time like now. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next week. I give you a weekly update every Monday, and I'll keep you guys especially on top of this issue. See you next Monday.